Welcome to What About This Episode 3. I'm Keith.
I'm Kyle.
Travis. Producer Josh.
So in this episode, we get into the topic of the most influential band of all time and the Beatles. So the idea is that the Beatles is the most influential band of all time, and we get heated about it, right? So some things that we brought up this time is about the Beatles, the start of the four-piece band, about Elvis and his influence. What is influence? We talk about some other things like Edison and poetry and all that, and then talking about disruption of a genre, disruption of a topic, or disruption of music. But the things you guys are really going to want to listen to is we make some heated points. We're still friends after you listen to this. Just know that we're still friends. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is, as Travis said, this is vintage us. So this is us at our best.
And if nothing
and our worst in some way.
Yeah, if nothing else, I found out who created basketball.
Where's
That's
Ryan?
true. Yeah, where is Ryan?
Listening to the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, probably the Foo Fighters concert.
Yeah, probably. So this will be episode 3. You're going to tell us about our sponsor.
Yeah, What About This is sponsored by Always Green Synthetic Grass. Make sure to check them out at agsgrass.com for all your synthetic landscaping needs.
Yeah, so we hope you guys enjoy the episode. Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what you think. Comment on wherever you find us. All right. Hope you enjoy the episode.
Well, yeah, so getting into it today, this is stemming off of a conversation that Trav and I had on Sunday night, which turned into a bit of a cage match just spontaneously. Other people tried to get involved, and here's the thing, I don't even remember exactly where it stemmed from, but I remember where it went.
Neither do I, and that's the funny part.
And all of a sudden, well, here's what I'll say. Talking about nonsense, and then all of a sudden, the notion got brought up of the most influential band. I remember the most influential band in the world, or the most influential music in the world. And Travis started talking about the band Nirvana and just like the influence they had on the world. And I said, yeah, but they're not the most influential band in the world. And then Travis went on to say, well, who is the most influential band in the world? And I, without hesitation, said...
You want me to say it?
Yeah, who do you think I said?
The Beatles. You said the Beatles.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna do it. That was. Hey,
was that a bad setup? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. But I put you on the spot, and you still got it right. I said the Beatles.
He didn't prepare you for it.
And
so you said the Beatles are the most influential band of all time.
Yeah, and I wanted to open with a story about a time that I almost made a fool of myself. In front of Paul McCartney. Sir Paul McCartney. Throw some respect on that.
It's actually just Sir Paul. Should be correct.
Well, Sir Paul. There's too many. Hey, what if there's another Paul that got knighted?
You know what?
How do they tell the difference?
Yeah, exactly. One is in the most influential band in the world, and one's only a knight. So I'm sitting at the Grammys, and Travis brought up that I'm a name dropper, and I am. So I'm just gonna embrace it, and here we go. I was working the Grammys, and during the dress rehearsal, people are just kind of walking around, sitting, doing whatever they want, like they're making sure everything's going smoothly. And if you don't really have a lot to do, you can just kind of sit in the chairs and like watch as people are going through their performances. And I was sitting, and I don't remember who was performing. I think it was like Katy Perry or something like that. I was going through her dress rehearsal, and I'm just sitting there, and I looked.
Did you just drop another name?
Yeah, I sure did.
Whoa. Dark horse.
Yeah, I didn't meet her though. But I look, and there's probably only like 4 people sitting in the chairs, and I am sitting, and I look up, and I notice there's a guy sitting across the aisle, like 3 rows ahead of me, and he turns his head for a second, and it is Paul McCartney. And so in my mind, I'm thinking,
did you recognize him right away?
Yeah, okay. Right away. I was like, yeah, that's Paul McCartney. And it went like, oh, that's Paul McCartney. And so I was like, well, I have to go. I went like this. I have to go meet him. and then my judgment immediately went, what are you gonna talk to him about? like I had a couple things ran through my mind. Number one, he probably doesn't want to talk to you. He's sitting. He's obviously like, I think he's probably sitting on his own for a reason. He's probably been surrounded by people doing stuff. It was when he was there because 4 or 5 seconds had just come out, and so he was going to perform. And so I was like, he probably doesn't want to talk to you. And then if I go up to him, what am I going to say? Like, hey,
It's good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. Or hey, just the best, just really big Beatles fan. He's like, yeah?
No.
Yeah.
You remember that one time?
That sucks about John Lennon.
Just go,
Were you guys friends?
just go full Chris Farley.
And so then.
Now hold on, does everybody know Josh is with us tonight?
Oh
No,
yeah.
probably not.
Yeah.
So we have Ryan is. I don't know.
Ryan's gone, and
He ditched us 3 episodes in.
And producer Josh is sitting in with Ryan. Sorry, for Ryan.
Hopefully I can fill his shoes.
Yeah, you have a title,
So-
Producer Josh. That's like that's like Chance
But
the
here's,
Rapper.
but here's the deal. We're talking about the most influential band or artist of all time tonight. And so it really doesn't matter that Ryan's not here. 'Cause
Are we just done with
Yeah,
Kyle's
we're
story?
just done with this.
No, we're just.
To be continued.
I mean, you were talking about the Beatles who gets ripped, but.
Oh.
Yeah.
But Ryan's favorite band is probably the Foo Fighters anyway, so his opinion wouldn't matter tonight. So anyway, continue on with your Paul McCartney. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to leave Josh out.
Producer Josh.
Anyways.
So Paul.
Hey. The worst part is like
Sir Paul.
the worst part is I'm pretty close to the end too, so there's not. It's like
I've never cared much about anybody else's opinions.
and so he gets like a text and gets up and walks away. And it's funny because in my mind I'm like, oh, Paul McCartney
Just
text.
texting.
Hey, Paul McCartney. Hey, here's what I'm thinking too. Like, who has Paul McCartney's phone number and has the audacity to send him a text message?
While I'm staring at him.
Yeah.
Probably his wife.
Yeah, probably. I don't know if he's
People who know him, Kyle.
Yeah, maybe.
He is, I don't know.
And so he walks away, and I'm thinking, like, I sit there, and I still think of it to this day. I'm really bittersweet about it because I go, that was my chance. That was my chance to meet somebody in the Beatles, and I blew it.
There's only 2 left anyway.
Yeah, but then when I think about it, I go, it's probably a good thing I didn't do it. Number one, because there's this band that I love, and I don't want one of them to think that I'm an idiot. And also,
Would that stop you from liking him? Every time you heard a song, you just be
yeah,
flashback.
Paul thinks I'm an idiot.
yeah, hey, you don't know me, Paul.
Can't get that image out of my head.
But then here's the other thing too, is I think like, man, what if he was really mean? Like, what if he was really mean to me? And now but then I can't not like the Beatles, and so I know he's really mean, and I still listen to his music. It's like it would be
Just a war within every song.
it would be the most shameful thing.
If you're singing along and tears are coming down.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm not gonna listen to you anymore. And in my mind, he's like, yes, you are. I'm like,
He was probably just projecting.
yeah. And so all that to say was I almost made a fool of myself in front of Paul McCartney, and I decided not to.
Well, it wouldn't matter, man, because they're not the most influential band. So you think that they're the most influential band in the last 100 years?
I think they're the most influential band ever.
So here's part of the problem that I have is, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is, I think that they shaped the way that a rock and roll band is today. That no band, no music group, especially one that plays their own instruments. So a band let's just say, I'll just stick with this, rock band.
Okay.
No rock band would be who they are if the Beatles hadn't modeled what it looks like to be a freewheeling, say what you want, do what you want rock band.
So no one, so more influential than Bob Dylan, more influential than Elvis.
Yeah. Yes.
No. So they're
Dude,
pop.
Bob Dylan's not even in the discussion. Elvis can
He
be in the
is
discussion. No, he's
in the
not.
discussion.
Watch
He
this.
is, because on all lists he's like number 2.
Name
Number 3.
Name 3 Bob Dylan songs.
That's a bad argument.
No,
The
it's
winds
not.
are changing.
One.
What was it? Like a Rolling Stone.
So far, it sounds like Bob Dylan.
But I couldn't name you. I couldn't name. So you're saying that they're the most influential band because when you walk around, you ask people who's the most influential band, they say the Beatles.
Every time.
Just because they're popular, or because they're the most influential.
One person said Bob Marley, and that caught me off guard.
And they were old,
Yeah.
older.
Yeah. But this is going.
Someone said the Stones.
Someone, yeah.
So we started doing research and like asking people, and because me and Kyle almost fought.
Yes.
Is that gonna happen today?
Maybe.
Okay.
He is wearing jersey shorts.
They're not jersey shorts. They're running shorts. They're for exercising.
So my
Not
my
when you
whole
wear
deal
them.
is,
I said. Notice I said they are for exercising. I didn't say they're what I wear to exercise.
you would say they're all purpose.
Yeah.
So my deal is I would say they're for sure one of the most influential bands of all time.
Yeah,
But part of the thing is you're saying, and what you said that night is on music. So now you're changing it, and you're saying on a frequent rock band that says whatever they said, and you said, because I said one of the most influential bands that continues to be one of the most influential bands is Nirvana. And you were like, no way! And so what I'm saying
they can't see.
I'm going to disagree with
what I'm
you.
saying is they
on that
didn't
track.
make an impact on the world.
People can't see that I'm putting my head into my hands.
No, I'm on with Con that.
So you're saying they didn't make an impact on the world?
I'm saying they didn't make. They didn't.
Wait,
even,
are we talking about whether they're impactful or influential?
Either one.
No, yeah.
Pick whichever word you want, and they wouldn't even scratch the surface to what the Beatles did.
They had a third of the time, really.
Hey, and a tenth of the audience.
A third of the time,
Right.
and they haven't even been around. They've been around maybe a third of the time.
But they're nowhere near the conversation when you talk about the greatest bands of all time as they are with the Beatles.
You wouldn't say Nirvana is one of the greatest bands of all time.
They are. I'm just saying when you're talking about the greatest bands and you say the Beatles and then you say Nirvana, they're on different tiers.
Yeah, no. So I would argue, I would agree that the Beatles have been more influential.
Right.
But you were negating, and you were saying even in the music, period.
Yes.
So now, are you retracting all of music? Like Tupac is just like, dude, the Beatles is what shaped
I would go so far as to say the Beatles had a part in why Tupac is Tupac.
Okay, so
sure. But so did Elvis, and who paved the way for the Beatles? Elvis did.
But also, I honestly think the Beatles took what Elvis had and got even bigger with it, and so then therefore, it's like that. I was telling you about the scene in The Office where Michael says that he made 1,000 people laugh because he made Dwight laugh, who made 1,000 people laugh.
Sure, yeah.
That's like saying so even so. And
so who's more influential in that argument?
Who in that one, Dwight is.
Why?
Because he's the one that actually made 1,000 people laugh.
But without the joke, without the genius behind it, he would have been nothing.
But it doesn't matter because that guy didn't do it.
So he did do it. He created the joke.
But what influence did Elvis have on the Beatles? I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just asking.
Well,
I don't know.
You and I after the next day, Monday morning, afternoon, whatever it was. Yep. You said I don't want to admit this, but you admitted it. And what did John Lennon say and the Beatles say?
John Lennon likes Elvis.
Yeah. he said we would not exist.
Okay. But so they wouldn't exist. I'm just trying to get.
So here's part of my argument is that no doubt the Beatles have influence, and this is what I'm saying. Define your terms. Define your terms. Are they the most popular of all time? Were they the most influential on music of all time?
I'll ask this question then to Kyle, and then Travis can jump in too. You're talking about rock and roll, and obviously when the Beatles came in and Beatles Mania and all that. Are you suggesting that they are the most influential on modern music culture? Is that kind of what you're suggesting to some degree? I'm
saying that no person or people have ever
like ever in history?
Well, and see no, here's the thing.
We're gonna get into some
hold on.
It's interesting. I poked a lot of holes in his argument too, Keith.
So that's why I said, okay, let's talk about bands.
Right.
Groups. And I said,
but I would even agree with you on modern music culture. What the state of music today, I think, can be traced back to a lot of what the Beatles did. Mm-hmm. So sorry, I interrupted. Go.
And so I said, and so then we started talking about, and we could even get into go back to more like the classics, like you have like Beethoven and Mozart, and you would say, okay, a lot of music as far as influence and everything comes from them, from like because there was basically a lot of just like chanting monks and things before they started making music. I'm not a historian. I don't know if that's accurate.
There was music in the 20s, man. In the 30s. In the 40s.
We're talking about Mozart and
talking
Beethoven.
About, yeah. So
you're saying before them. I thought you were talking about just decades before.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
No. So here's what I'll say. So I will backtrack a little bit, only a little bit, and I'll say most influential in terms of music itself. There's a
You're backing out of that
a little bit, but hold on.
Back out of it or don't.
I'm backing out.
Or explain it.
I'm gonna restructure this contract. I'm gonna restructure, and I'm gonna say that the Beatles have had the biggest influence ever on bands, ever.
Like boy bands.
Any group,
bands.
Any group of musicians.
So you think they have the most influence on Wu-Tang?
Yes.
Why?
Because I think the Beatles created the mold of what it looks like for these people to get together and be their own band and not have to rely on others to create the music that they want. And so you have Wu-Tang that even if they had to work with producers and things like that, as far as like their lyrics and like basically their style, their outspokenness of they get to rap about what they want to rap about, I believe honestly stemmed out of the Beatles.
So you think that the origin of hip hop, what the greatest influence of the origin of hip hop is the Beatles?
Hip hop groups?
Hip hop, yeah.
No, you said no, I didn't say hip hop group.
I have a hard time with the concept of being influential because don't you think that some of these musicians would have figured it out anyways, like even if the Beatles weren't around?
But the Beatles were the ones that did it first. And so you would have to say then that if they would have figured it out, we'll never know because the Beatles were the ones that did it.
So there's no group before them.
So they influence everybody then.
There are groups.
No, I'm not saying that there are no groups before them. I'm saying there are no groups that did it and influenced culture the way the Beatles
did. The way that they did.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that they were the first band ever. I'm saying...
But you're saying band, like boy band, the Stones,
sure,
Queen...
I think insane...
But you're saying... No, but here's what you're saying. Is hip-hop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you, you think that they influence hip-hop? Like that they're the influence.
Wait, so are you saying you're not saying they directly influence something like that? Someone like the Wu-Tang Clan?
No, I'm not saying the guys from Wu-Tang were like, dang, you know who's dope? The Beatles. We should start a group. Like,
so then,
like we should do the Beatles but rap.
Like, so what are you saying then? Are you saying that like? Again, this is why I think if this is what you're saying, I think I can get on board. Is that they essentially started what we might consider modern music culture in the way that we understand it.
Yeah, in terms of being a group of musicians that get to create their own music, their own style, do their own thing.
What do you mean by that? That they get to create their own style? Because Elvis did it.
But Elvis was a solo.
Yeah. I know, but he influenced them.
Right, but but again, Kyle's saying he's not saying that the other people aren't influential. He's saying that in terms of grouping, like in terms of becoming
that's fine, but still you have to explain that the group was birthed out of a solo artist who gave them the right to do what they did. So the group is irrelevant.
But I would also say too that just because somebody did it first does not make them more influential.
Right. I would say that this is what I would.
But isn't that what we're kind of getting at right now?
Yeah.
No, I actually disagree with. I disagree with that idea that just because someone did it first doesn't make them the most influential.
No, but what does it mean to be the most influential? Because like record sales, because they sold the same.
Who?
Elvis and the Beatles, 500, 600 million.
But then also you have to go to how many people were reached, like how many different people were reached.
But you don't know that.
Well, so I think
because you know what? Because I work high schoolers. They continue to pop up little Dylan heads, little Nirvana heads, little little Dylan heads. There's no Beatle heads, man.
I don't know.
There's not a group.
I work with the same high schoolers. I don't know any of them who like sit and listen to Bob Dylan.
You need to get out there more.
I agree with Kyle on that. I don't know if there are many that are that. So here's what
more than the Beatles. Hold on. So
no,
yeah,
they know way. They know way more.
I'll say this to your point about Nirvana heads. It's like Nirvana doesn't exist without the Beatles.
Why?
Because to Kyle's point, there weren't groups that had the 2 guitar, bass, and drummer setup. That was new. That was pretty revolutionary. Like there weren't too many groups out there doing that. The Stones I know came earlier, but the Beatles were one of the first ones that you saw 2 guitar players, a bass player.
So what were the bands?
There weren't really bands.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what he's
there
saying.
were
That was
No,
what
there
I-
were groups, but not bands. So
and
you're
that
talking
was-
about the Temptations, that's 4 singers. If you're talking about a big band, that's a whole orchestra. There weren't many 4-piece bands before the Beatles.
So you're
and that's what I was trying to shift.
So hold
to.
on, but like directly 4-piece bands, because isn't actually so Nirvana wasn't it a 3?
It's a 3-piece.
3-piece.
The same
At
idea.
4-piece sometimes with what's his name, Pat, whatever his name is, right? But hold on.
I don't know because Nirvana wasn't that influential.
But no, because you like the Beatles.
Yeah, and I think Nirvana's cool, but like they weren't nearly as influential.
Yeah, but dude, let's talk about some of the music you listen to.
Like what?
You listen to like bubblegum pop.
You listen to bubblegum.
Because growing up, you've said this before. Is a lot of like you would have those top 40 CDs.
Yeah, dude, I grew up with a sister
in 8th grade. So did I. And I
a
had
younger sister.
I had her banging Wu-Tang.
But here's the thing too is if we're going influence, especially like you were saying.
Hold on, okay,
hold on.
Okay.
Like you were saying today. Well, today, Bruno Mars is selling more albums than the Beatles, but you would never say, I think Bruno Mars is as influential as the Beatles.
Well, no, because we've had this amount of time to see that. Yes, again, I'm not saying they're not one of the greatest influencers, but you're arguing that they gave, okay, so yeah, maybe they gave a picture to us. They gave a picture to us of like, oh, you can have 4 people in a band.
Especially,
And before that, you have Elvis, who is gave them, because part of your argument is like, dude, the only reason Nirvana was able to say what they were able to say is because the Beatles said it first. And I'm saying no, Elvis said it first, and he gave them the freedom.
Actually, I would disagree with that. Elvis did, but Elvis didn't come up with his own lyrics.
And Elvis
How is that even a part? Is that now a part of the argument?
No, but Elvis was also
Elvis was copying from.
And Elvis
Even more so. So who gave who the right?
Elvis influenced country music, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah.
By not writing.
But
songs.
but not just
No,
because he listened to blues. He was influenced
Right.
by country, by
But
blues.
so were the Beatles.
Okay, but so hold on.
John Lennon was just huge in blues.
My question is this. My question is you're saying gave right. Now either you're still on that. They gave right to say because of this what's the revolution? It's moral revolution. It is
like basically like the free speech. If you
free sexual revolution. Really,
Sure.
Right? It's kind of priming it.
Sure.
But Elvis was priming it before with his hip thrust and with his gyrating with the guitar.
See, that's another thing. Is it subliminal? Like, is it in the subconscious? Like, can a band like Elvis, through subliminal like thrusting and stuff, did he spur a sexual revolution? Or
Absolutely he did.
like with the Beatles too, like even if people say they don't like them, like say Kurt Cobain was like, oh, I hate the Beatles.
He doesn't.
But
I like the Beatles, but I hate Paul McCartney.
He still listened to them.
But that wasn't his main influence.
Yeah, no, I mean just
No, but still, but to your point, John Lennon liked Elvis, but that wasn't his main influence.
Okay, but hold on, I want to hear what Josh says.
Even if they didn't like them, do you think that even just by hearing them, that they subconsciously influenced what they did?
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying too is, so I feel like this my point may be getting skewed here a little bit in that, like,
You just gotta define the terms.
in this way. What I mean by influence is kind of like what Josh is saying. A lot of it, I believe, happens subconsciously. They're not like the bands today, Nirvana, and the bands that are not still playing today, like Nirvana. They weren't sitting there thinking, the Beatles are great. You know what? We should be a band like the Beatles, but different. What I'm saying is that they are a band, and it probably even subconsciously they had this mold of what the Beatles created,
right,
and the grandeur of what the Beatles turned it into through, like, in the pre-sexual revolution, right, what they're getting into. And so now, like, a band like Nirvana spawns out of that even subconsciously.
So here's what I would say to Kyle's point is, look at music before the Beatles and look at what kind of groups are formed after the Beatles.
Sure.
And all of the ones that were formed after the Beatles use the mode and the model of the Beatles. They don't go back to the Elvis, to Johnny Cash, to the big band to the four
But
singers
we have
and most.
again.
What?
But we have.
They were always solo artists, but all of the most popular bands that formed after the Beatles were in the mold of the Beatles.
No, yeah, exactly. So, which is fine. But here's what I'm saying is, because part of this is your original argument, is that they single-handedly influenced. They're the major influence on music. Period.
Right. Well, then I backtracked.
Okay. So part of what I'm asking though, in light of what Josh is saying and what you guys are saying, I'm agreeing with that. With that. They showed you a new way to do it, because then you have this like kind of modern day boy band, the
NSYNC.
NSYNC, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not what you don't think Beatles when you see them.
No.
Okay. I don't even. Maybe you do think Temptations. I don't know. Like, do we think?
I mean,
kind of.
Sure.
So maybe that's not a new mold, but it is a new mold in a sense. But I don't think subconsciously, even for these bands that are popping up, I think that, like what you guys are saying, for decades, this is okay now. This is okay now. This is what we do now. This gives us, but also part of your point is, because of the Beatles, it gives us the right. It gives us the right to say whatever we want, because Nirvana and a grouping of grunge bands and all those different things, and yes, they got a little poppy, right? They got a little poppy, and they even recognized that, and that's why they went back to kind of who they were in their original context, very anti-pop. And so he even states this, right? And he recognizes it. Kurt Cobain recognizes it. What I'm saying though is, before the Beatles, there was a progression leading into the Beatles. Not saying that the Beatles didn't just blow up, not that they didn't just burst into culture, and they were a huge game changer, but because of the bands previous, who paved the way, who even gave them the same thing you're saying that the Beatles gave them. So who is the real influencer?
But see, I wouldn't consider them the real influence on music. I would consider them the influence on the Beatles, who then the Beatles influenced music. Because you can't say that just because you can't say that someone like Robert Johnson, who was a blues guitarist in the 20s and 30s, was the most influential on music, unless you're going to explain to someone, one, who Robert Johnson is, and two, how he influenced someone like the Beatles.
Okay,
but that means that he's not that influential, because it's the Beatles that really influenced.
So hold on. Okay, so hold on. I have a question. because I'm trying. I'm trying to clarify. I'm trying to get to the core.
I don't know if you are.
Yeah. Hey, this is what this is about. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what this is. Are you saying, when you're saying influential, are you saying influential, like, I want, what is that definition? Or are you saying they are the most popular? Because, hold on, if they do not technically exist without these, even if it was 10 people, but those 10 people collectively had to do things that went against the grain of culture, that went against the grain of society, that said some things. Doesn't matter if Elvis wrote it or not, he sung it. So he was the voice that communicated this, right? And so because they primed it, they paved it, that opened, and it just so happened timing the 60s, everything that was going on after the war, things were going on, yada, yada, yada. This whole new group of people being born and birthed into this, teenagers. I don't remember when they even coined the term, but it's somewhere maybe even before that, the teenager. And so all of a sudden they go boom, and so they can just go mega pop crazy. It's the, what's the...
Beatles Mania.
Beatles Mania.
Or Beatlemania.
Beatlemania.
Singular.
Yeah, sorry.
Beatlemania?
Beatlemania, yeah, that's what it's called.
That's like saying Nordstrom's.
Oh, that bothered me so much.
I'll stop saying it.
There's no apostrophe S, it's just Nordstrom.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on one second, guys. Hey, we gotta take a break real quick. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, if you're in the Southern California area and are looking for the best way to improve your home, look no further than adding some always green synthetic grass today. Whether it's creating that awesome backyard that's kid and pet friendly, or that putting green to work on your golf game, Always Green provides installation and landscaping with only American-made products, such as their famous synthetic turf with advanced drainage technology and backed by a 15-year warranty that will have your yard looking great for a very long time. Always Green also installs retaining walls, custom lighting in driveways, and the most beautiful stone walkways, so if you live in the Southern California area, what are you waiting for? financing is also available, so call for a free estimate today. 714-614-7814. That's 714-614-7814. Or stop by their store at 16772 Wanda Circle in Huntington Beach and get your home looking great with Always Green synthetic turf and putting greens. A proud sponsor of Pop Culture Cosmos, Humannequin Media, and the PCC Multiverse channels.
We are back. We stopped Travis in the middle of a question, and he is now off the leash again.
So I'm asking you guys if you, when you're saying they're the most influential, in light of everything I'm saying, are you saying they're the most popular?
No.
Or are they the most influential?
So here's what I would think. Partly what we mean by influential. I don't know if this would encapsulate everything. Kyle can say more if he wants.
Oh, I will.
I think you guys were saying that subconsciously that bands weren't trying to be the Beatles. I'll say that they were. I say consciously they were trying to be the Beatles.
You mean they're trying to fit that mold?
Both. But here's what I'll say even more specifically. I think the music industry was trying to replicate the Beatles after they came out.
You think that
I think music executives were saying we need the next Beatles. And I think that's what shaped music. That's what I think by means shaped music culture.
I can see it from that point because even if, because influence, that's such like a broad term, like even if someone didn't listen to the Beatles, they could still have been influenced by somebody who was influenced by the Beatles.
Exactly. No, I think which is a great point. So it's not that they're one of the greatest influencers. What I'm saying why are they the greatest influencers?
Because if the music executives at Columbia Records and what are the other records of that, if they were saying, well, we need the next Beatles, that means music itself, the idea of music culturally, shifted from whatever it was going towards to now finding the next Beatles.
So they said that about Dylan. They say that about Michael Jackson. They say for sure
but
they
look
do.
at the.
They do not say that about Bob Dylan.
Actually,
But I'm
saying this. What I'm saying is, look at the landscape of music post Beatles, and that drastically. Now, this isn't obviously not across the board, but in what became popular for the next, even to today, and maybe until the late '80s, early '90s. Were bands that were fronted by guitars, bands, and drums, and that was what they looked. That's what the music industry became for years. Of course they're influential on that.
So Nirvana's main influence is not the Beatles, though. They would say their main influence, their main influences are the Meat Puppets, and I think the Melons. But so what I'm saying is I wouldn't even say subconsciously as much as naturally, because this thing was created. The band was created.
Right, it's been an evolution of that concept.
So I will say this. I understand what you're saying.
But they're not subconsciously trying. They're not subconsciously trying to be the Beatles.
I think they are though.
But here's what I agree with you on this. I'll say that if you're talking about like people.
So you're saying they're the greatest band ever?
No, that's not the same thing. You're trying to take influence in the sense of people were trying to sound like the Beatles.
No, that's not what I'm. No,
but it seems like that because obviously Nirvana's influence isn't the Beatles. It's more of the punk movement.
Right, and they would argue that they had an influence on them.
But I say the Beatles without the Beatles. I think I might have said this earlier. Without the Beatles, Nirvana doesn't exist.
That's what yes, amen.
So you're saying, hold on, let me ask you this: is without Elvis. The Beatles say without Elvis they don't exist. So if that is true, if that is true,
they didn't say that though.
Yes, he did.
Yes, that's what John Lennon said. Yes, I understand that, but that's a different sort of influence than what we're talking about.
See, though, back to my earlier question though, if the Beatles weren't around, don't you think that Kurt Cobain and Dave Grohl and them, they would have figured out how to come together?
But that's the same.
Come together.
Yeah, nice.
Well played, sir.
That's purely speculation. Like you could say, you could say this. Like that would be like I don't remember the guy.
Or inevitable.
No.
I don't know, but see, I don't think the 4-piece band is an inevitability.
Because it's like this. It's like the guy who made up I don't remember his name. The guy who made up the game of basketball. It was in like
Naismith.
What is it?
Yeah, James Naismith.
James Naismith. That would be like to say like, well,
I'm glad.
I'm glad. If that way we don't have to go off of the guy who made basketball. So if James, it would be like this. Oh, if James Naismith didn't invent the game of basketball, inevitably somebody will.
Yeah, and I would say no. That's ridiculous.
Right.
That's not true.
The only thing you could get out of that is maybe, but also
someone will do everything.
Yeah,
at least some.
Maybe,
at some
but also
point.
probably not.
So you hold on. So you guys are saying that if the Beatles never happened,
we said that together, by the way.
A lot of high fiving.
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
guys are saying the Beatles never happened, nothing like the Beatles would have never happened. Nothing like not the Beatles, but nothing like
it
the
could
band.
have happened, maybe.
It most likely would have.
How do you say that?
Yeah,
Look at music before that. There was nothing like them before.
Electricity.
No,
there was electricity for years before that.
It's not. Hey, there's no. Hey. There's no correlation between
But
the two. I'm saying how many people were trying it? A lot.
Really?
Actually, a lot.
Who?
I don't know their names just because you know
Exactly,
the guy who.
because the Beatles did.
Yes, I knew.
So
Oh my gosh.
influential.
Oh my gosh.
You have no information on this. Like when you think hold on.
Who invented the light bulb?
So stop.
And electricity and all that. Who?
Well, no one invented electricity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not Thomas Edison.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
but there was a lot of other people.
Well, why do we have Southern California Edison and not Southern
Because
California?
he got the
whoever
patent,
was
man.
the guy before him.
No,
So
it's
that-
not the
hey,
he got the patent.
so
So
he's
who was
the
the
most
most
influential?
influential on
Edison.
it? Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's
It's
so
Edison
good.
is the one.
That is.
How is he the most influential?
Name the other person.
He got the patent.
Yes,
Name the person who invented it.
Exactly.
No, he got the patent.
So he's influential.
That doesn't mean that it wouldn't have happened. You're missing my point. It would have happened.
But
Hold on.
There's no one to say that it would.
Yes, these other guys had it. He beat everybody else down to the patent.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that.
It already. Therefore, hold on. This is my
because
point.
it doesn't mean maybe he had the better product. You don't know
It's
that.
not about product.
It is about product.
No,
Yes,
it
it
isn't.
is totally about product.
No. What I'm
How many
saying. Hold
times
on. What
do
I'm
people
saying
say
is.
that's
Hold on.
falling
You're missing the
flat?
point. You're missing the point. Here's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna leave.
Because you're getting schooled right now.
No
The
way.
point-
Oh my gosh.
The point.
Travis,
Listen to
you're
the
not even
point.
watching the same game.
Listen to the point. The point is that it would have happened
I don't
without Edison.
But you don't
No,
know
that's,
that.
you don't know that. You can't
Yes,
say
you do.
that.
There's other guys he just beat down.
But
he
so-
beat them to the. Hold on, listen. Hold on. Stop interjecting. He beat them down to the pen. Other guys were discovering it. Okay, hold on. We're inventing it. He just happened.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Here's what
Hold
I'll
on.
say.
Hold on.
Name
No.
your-
You're not listening. You're not listening.
Okay,
No,
all right,
no, you're not listening.
Wait,
You're not
wait,
listening.
time out.
No.
I will concede your point. Then that guy would have been the most influential. Sure.
That's not even my point. I'm not saying that they're the most influential. What I'm saying is the inevitability. This has nothing to do, because you guys are saying that Nirvana wouldn't have existed without the Beatles themselves. And I'm saying, and what I'm saying is that whether it was the Beatles or somebody else, I'm not saying that it, and guess what? The band itself could have happened. And it might have just been like, that's all right. But for another 60 years, bands could have kept popping up.
Right.
That doesn't mean it would have ever been influential on society. We know that it was.
Right.
What I'm saying is the same thing is true that you guys are like, we don't know if the 4-piece band would have ever began.
We don't.
Well, no, we do, because here's the deal. It's mankind pushing things forward. Hold on. Mankind pushing things
wrong.
forward.
Wrong.
I'm raising
why is it wrong?
raising my hand for a turn to speak.
Why is it wrong?
So you're saying this, by the way, because you're saying whenever I present information, you keep saying, how do you know? Who was it? How do you know? Who was it? And so all you're saying before Edison is you're saying other guys. How do you know? Who was it?
It was in a documentary
French
that
guy.
I watched. I don't know exactly their.
That's
their
nothing,
name.
though.
But you make claims like that all the time.
Okay, but no,
hold on,
there-
that's a bad point. You make claims like
No,
that all the time.
but then you come and rebut. You say, but no, you have to have
But
the information.
here's the point. Here's what I
So
would
my
say.
point isn't. My point is this. My point is this. Is it's fair to just agree with me if you want to take a quick break. And we could go look these guys up.
Well, I didn't make the point.
No, we could do. You also didn't know the name of the guy who invented basketball, but I'm not like arguing with you.
But somebody knew it.
So you think only Edison was the only guy?
I
No, hold on. That's a good question. No, answer that question.
I think elements are a bad example. Because it's like saying if the cavemen didn't discover fire, like somebody would not have rubbed two sticks together eventually.
Right. So here's what I'm saying about
But here's
what I'm saying about the Edison example is that sure there were other people doing it and he did it, so he becomes the most influential person. So you put someone in there. But what I'm saying is that is a fundamentally different thing than saying the 4-piece band would have just popped out of existence, right? And I know that's not exactly what you're saying. Well, no, of course it didn't.
Well, then where did it come from? Hold on, where did it come from?
Well, you have this.
No, hold on, where did it come from?
Do you want me to answer?
Okay, one.
Every time I try to answer, you ask the question again.
We don't know who's the first person in history to say, "Hey, we should have 2 guitars, a bass, and a drum and drums." We don't know that. So that's a ridiculous argument to say that like whoever was the first person to come up with that is the most influential in music. Here's my point. You're saying that you're saying that humankind just progresses forward. That's assuming that there's this sense of progression through things. I don't think the 4-piece band is a progression out of something else. So I think whoever first comes up with it or first popularizes it, that's not an inevitable thing. There's no inevitability to a 4-piece band. There might be inevitability to the bulb, the electric bulb, right? Because we've been doing experiments with electricity for years, right? Sure, and we can think, we can put it in this. Maybe, and so that might be an inevitability. But what would be the inevitability? Why would there ever be the thought, if it weren't for the Beatles or whoever came up with the 4-piece band, to put a 4-piece band together?
The same reason there was a thought for the Beatles.
Right, but the Beatles came up with it.
I'm not arguing that.
So then they're the most influential on that particular form.
Weren't the Stones a 4-piece band too?
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not the Beatles themselves, but like, obviously there is this sense of it. But the Beatles became the most popular, and then people tried to replicate the Beatles.
But that doesn't mean just because they were the first 4-piece band,
right,
that therefore they would have been the most popular. That doesn't mean that. They could have been crappy.
Yes, I know that.
Okay, but so you guys are missing what I was even saying. What I'm saying is you guys just said it popped out of nowhere. Essentially.
Well, essentially, yes.
Okay. So, all I'm saying is I'm being consistent with you guys is that Nirvana or Soundgarden or Pearl Jam could have existed. I'll get to that in a bit.
Hey, Chris Cornell.
Yeah, sure.
So it seems that the way music was going, rock and roll in and of itself.
I'm sorry. I love that we're like the Beatles, Nirvana, Bob Dylan, Soundgarden,
Chris Cornell, Timbaland. What?
So, but I guess here's my question though. Here's my question. Why are you saying that that's not and I know you're not saying it's not influential, but why are you saying it's not as influential as Con I think it is? Why is it? Why are they not as influential then? Because I don't think it was an inevitability. I don't think it was. I think music is a different thing than things like electricity.
Then explain what you mean by how they came about out of nowhere. Or are you not saying that?
Oh well, I'm saying that because there wasn't really precedent before them for that.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I mean by out of nowhere. I don't mean that they were the first ones that
we
need to have 4 people.
There wasn't a need for a 4-piece band, therefore the inevitability is much less likely than something like the control of electricity.
There is a need for the electric bulb at some point, right? Given the technology, given that, yes, I can see that.
Because there wasn't a need for it either. There wasn't a need for it. There's not a need for a whole lot. It's just we have this ability to create and to continue to try things. All I was saying was that Nirvana. It's not that Nirvana couldn't have existed without the Beatles themselves being the sole instrument, the beginning, which you're saying, which I agree with you. They're like. And it just so happens that they were Beatlemania, right?
Right.
They had this success, they had this influence, they had this popularity.
Right.
But what I'm arguing is, this whole point, I don't even know what I was really talking about. It wasn't that big of a deal. I thought you guys would get that really quickly. And so I bring up Edison in that other people are trying to do these things. I think other people would have just tried it, done it. It would have came from somewhere.
It turned into, I don't know what we're yelling about.
But let's see that. So let's say there is another 4-piece band that comes along.
Yes.
Let's say that.
Yes.
My argument, and I think Kyle's argument would be too, but I don't want to speak for him, would be that they wouldn't be as popular. They wouldn't have changed the landscape of culture. And so bands
You're
like
saying they wouldn't?
I'm saying
that
they
that's
wouldn't.
not a probability?
I'm saying that they're. Of course, it's a probability.
Okay.
Of course, everything is a probability, right? If we're gonna go there,
Okay.
none of us are qualified to talk about probabilities.
Hey, I'm a math tutor.
But I usually do your math problem.
I'm sorry. Pre-algebra and down.
So yes,
You guys
of
wanna know
course.
how to solve
that's
for
a
slope?
lot. That's a lot of speculation on whether that would have happened. So I'll agree with you. It would have happened, and that band informs itself. There is now the idea of the fourth. There's now the concept of the four-piece band, much like there's the concept of the light bulb. Hold on. What I'm saying.
For those of you, Travis has like a tell in his face of when you're about to get interrupted, and Keith just stiff armed that like you would not believe.
So that's true.
Have a lot of
Fine.
grace, Kyle.
Let's say that's true. But there isn't Beatlemania, right? They're not as good. They're interesting, but they're not as good. Again, I keep coming back to this. If you look at what music was like before the Beatles and what was like after the Beatles, you can't deny that the Beatles influenced those after. So what I would say then maybe we'd be arguing that Elvis was the most influential artist of all time because we see a bunch of Elvises after him. But we don't. We see a bunch of Beatles.
Michael Jackson isn't an Elvis?
Sure. But Michael Jackson also owned the entire Beatles catalog. So he was obviously influenced by the Beatles.
I'm not saying he wasn't influenced by the Beatles. I'm just saying he wasn't
Okay,
the Beatles.
so you're saying a lot of things of what people aren't influenced by. Who, in your opinion, since we've now
But
made
you're
our
making an
strength-
assumption. I'm not saying that hold on. First and foremost, I'm not saying, and I never have said, that the Beatles are not one of the most influential. I'm just saying that they cannot take credit for being single-handedly like the reason
right
that music is what it is, and that was our original. Now, pop rock
or just rock and roll bands.
Are you talking about the sound, or are you talking about the way music works? Like, I don't mean music. I mean the music business works.
The way the music business works? No,
Yeah.
I would just. I'm more so
how
coming
we consume
from
music today, how we listen to music today, what all that means. Like, I think they changed. They just drastically changed what music meant.
I think
to
they
people.
had a giant hand in changing it. But in influencing, even like you said, Michael. For sure, all great musicians know the Beatles. That's not an argument.
Right.
That's stupid. Like I wouldn't even go there. Of course, but to say that they are the influencer on all, the number one influencer on all, I would argue absolutely not.
So
especially because I would put them up against now the band itself for sure.
But okay, so are you saying that there isn't such thing as a singular most influential person or a group or
Absolutely not.
Oh, there.
Okay. So that's what we're arguing against.
There we go.
So we're not arguing against the Beatles. We're arguing about whether a single group or a single entity can influence something.
All right. So here's what Questlove says from the Roots, and so he is
He's from a band. Like the Beatles.
Yeah, so here's what he said. He says, so here's what he actually says. I'm going to quote him because I'll mess it up. But he says, you think you like this particular band, but you associated that band or artist with all the other artists surrounding them. Everyone is associated with a movement.
Right.
He's saying that there's this association and there's no such thing as this single-handed band or group.
Right.
That is the number one. Hold on, the number, he says the Roots don't exist pretty much, even though they moved to London and they kind of created this little hub, but with them he brings up Erykah Badu, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, D'Angelo as part of that movement. He talks even about, I think he talked about like a soul movement. So what I'm saying is maybe even within that group, there is, and maybe the Beatles is it,
right?
But no one is single-handedly,
right,
just from a blank slate, like popped out of nowhere without influence. And I don't think you guys are saying that without influence either.
No.
I'm just saying that it's a bigger task at hand to influence all of music, even rock and roll, because the Beatles are not the Stones. The Beatles are and maybe they gave them freedom to say crazy things, right? Like you didn't bring up Kanye, and I go, yeah, for sure. Kanye or Jay-Z or all these bands, like, yeah, over decades and decades and decades, progressively, they've been able to say more outlandish and crazy things.
Right, like you would say what Kanye gets to say is an evolution of what the Beatles started to say.
But no, I would say is what Elvis or even people before that started to say. No, hold on. The Beatles.
But go and listen to Elvis lyrics, and then and Elvis didn't really say anything that was shaking things up.
Yes, he did.
Like, but hold on.
His was all about movement.
Yeah,
how he performed.
Right, and so his lyrics weren't the issue. It was his body that was the issue that was controversial.
So maybe
but then even as far as even early Beatles, not really anything controversial. Right. Pretty bubblegum, pretty standard. But then once they start like going to like Hare Krishna, and then like magical. Here's what I'll say: like once Sgt. Pepper's and like Magical Mystery Tour comes out, and they do like I Am the Walrus, which there's a funny story on that. Basically, John Lennon wrote that as a nonsense song because he heard that people were trying to analyze their lyrics, and so he's like, well, have fun with this one. And seriously, like if you're listening to this right now, and after this, go listen to I Am the Walrus and just laugh at the people who sat in a classroom. He heard that there was a classroom and they were trying to analyze it, and he's like, I'm gonna write this really crazy song, and it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but it does though.
But
that's a whole other topic.
He says there are little pieces that have to do with certain things, like that he was thinking about. He said, but overall, like the song means nothing.
No, but it means something. It whatever. That's all.
So,
I think
so,
he's trying to play on people's minds.
So side note. But what I'm saying is the Beatles. It was in their later years when they started speaking very politically, talking a lot about religion and things like that. Even before like they went solo, like before Lennon did Imagine.
So you're only talking about lyrical content here?
Well, I'm just talking about that being one aspect of it.
Okay, but so Elvis's movement is everything. The way people dance in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, but we're not talking about dance. We're talking about music.
I know. And so you guys said that Elvis didn't say anything controversial for his time. Absolutely, he did.
Well, of course, all musicians do.
Okay, but so that's the whole point. They paved the way back to this thing where the Beatles didn't sing. If Questlove is a music historian savant, and he is, then I think he has way more to say about this. And so what he's saying there is these movements are happening. And what I'm saying is that the Beatles didn't single-handedly change music alone. That's my pushback.
Right. But that's not what I don't think that's what I've been saying the whole time. So I'll even concede the point to you and Questlove. Let's say this: the British invasion was the most influential music movement in the last 200 years. Right? I'll say it that way.
Okay.
The British invasion changed the way music was created, consumed, and sold till today. And the British invasion includes the Beatles, the Stones, a few other people like the Monkees.
Okay.
The Beatles were the premier and the first British invasion band.
Were they before the Stones?
No, they weren't before the Stones in terms of I don't know when the timeline of which one was formed first, but the Beatles were the first major British band in America. So
you're saying now that you guys don't know, but you've said
no, I don't know which band comes first. What I'm saying is
that the Beatles came first.
No.
The Stones were in America before the Beatles.
But the Beatles, when they came to America, were far more.
They were already the Beatles.
Than the Stones.
The Beatles wouldn't come to America. This happened, and so it actually the Stones. You're right. The Stones were in America first, but the Beatles actually said, and it came up in 8 Days a Week in the documentary. They said we should go to America, and they said we don't want to go to America until we're number one in America. They said we want to be number one in the country before we go.
They were already in.
So they waited.
I'm talking about physically.
Yeah, so the music was already there, and but they waited to physically go there until they were number one on the charts, and they were like, all right, let's go.
So So what you're saying is collectively as a nation, we have bad taste in music.
No.
So you just don't like the Beatles?
No. I do like the Beatles. I do like the Beatles. Actually,
do you like the Beatles? Is this
I do like the Beatles. I would say though, I could give a rip about them. I could have gone my whole life, never listened to a Beatles song, and been absolutely okay with it. But I still like their music.
Most, if not all, the musicians you listen to only exist because of them.
No way.
Yeah.
Can I say something to Mr. Questlove?
No, because you're going back on even things that Mr. Questlove is saying.
I agree with him. I agree with him.
Wait,
I agree with what Questlove is saying. What I'm saying is that the way that the music industry changed because of people like the Beatles, and I would say specifically the Beatles, right? I agree that there are other ones. What I would say is that without them, people like the Roots don't exist. People like, and I'm talking about like big picture culture. I'm not saying like specific musical influence on them, because obviously people like the Roots have a much deeper and much different maybe musical influence than the Beatles. But I'm saying that there is no possibility for the way music exists today without the British invasion of the Beatles, which were the premier of them, right? They were really the most the British invasion. I'll say this: the British invasion doesn't happen without the Beatles.
So they're the most influential within the British invasion. Okay, that's fine. However, again, there's no way without all those other groups.
Right.
Someone has to be number one, and that's fine in that influence. But I don't think, again, you guys are not taking into consideration the fact of the progression before that.
Yeah, but of course, but then you can go back and there is no such thing. If you're really going to push it to that, there is no such thing as influence then.
So this is
there is. There still is influence. There's still influence, but not single-handedly. The way you guys are arguing this is that they single-handedly.
But there are these moments in history where something happens, and that particular entity is responsible for something.
They're responsible for part of everything that was going on.
Here's what I would say to Questlove. Here's what I would say. I know that he obviously...
Be careful.
I obviously know...
He might listen to this.
No, it's... yeah.
Give us a shout out.
Yeah, please. Score us some tickets to Jimmy Fallon. Here's what I would say, and I think he's totally right. That he said it's not like one band influenced the band you listen to. It's a collection of a lot of bands. But here's what I would say: like take the corner of this table, and I'd say here's your band right here that you love out far from the corner, and I would say that there are all the bands that you like that influence, but I see it all going like this. And it all goes boom to the corner of the table. Because there's a point. And I say that it's a while. You're right. The band you listen to was influenced by a ton of bands, but they all come back to. But it's a daisy chain that they were influenced by them. That all goes back to. There were no bands doing it before.
I can get that concept. So you're saying that everyone takes a piece of different bands.
Yeah, but it funnels down to the.
So let's even take this Let's say, let's take it to a different genre, right? Let's take it to a different genre. And I'm not as well versed, so you might be able to speak more.
Well,
would let's say Run DMC, right? Would you say that? Again, I'm not as versed in hip hop, so would you say they're one of the most influential groups to understand modern rap or modern hip hop?
Yeah.
But that represents a quantum leap. They were influenced by other people, but they popped out of nowhere, right? That idea popped out of nowhere. Yes, you can trace. Well, that's true for everything, though. That is true for everything. But when you think about the big picture, there are these quantum leaps that are taken, right? The light bulb is an example of one, right? That changes things. Henry Ford's, factory line, that changes things. There are certain things that completely disrupt things, and that you cannot say that the person who is most well known for that disruption isn't the most influential of that disruption.
So let me.
I would say they're the most popular influence. Hold on. Let me ask this.
I want
to hear what Josh has to say. Is I would say they are the most popular.
But why are they popular then?
Well, that's a whole nother. But hold on. I would say that they are the most popular within one of the most influential, maybe even single-handedly that time,
right.
that period in time.
Right.
They're the most popular of the most influential time in the last 100 years of music.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not saying that they are single-handedly the most influential.
But really, I mean, if we're going to talk about that, then it's probably not any musician we ever know. It's probably not even a musician that's the most influential person in music. It's probably some music executive that signed all these acts, right?
So then is
so that's what I'm saying.
And popularity the same thing?
No. But what I'm saying is that it's not because the Beatles were merely popular that they are influential. It's because people after them wanted to be like them. That is. I would think that is the definition of influence.
So you're saying that their influence created their popularity.
But
in some
Nirvana
sense.
wanted to be like the Meat Puppets, not the Beatles.
I know, but who did the Meat Puppets
The
want to be
funnel.
like?
The
And then
funnel.
who did
Hold on.
You keep going back. And
See,
you
this encompasses all of our questions. Do you think that the genre of screamo would exist had Pete Townsend not thrown his voice in all the songs that he did? Do you think people would have gotten to the point where they're like, oh yeah, maybe we should try doing that? Like that's.
I think it's the funnel.
Do you think it's the funnel?
I think it's the Questlove
And
funnel.
it
starts
started
somewhere.
before the Beatles.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but
Based
then
on
you're
what you guys are saying,
But you're
yes.
talking
No,
off of what
no,
Keith
but
said.
what you're saying is-
the disrupting factor. The
Right,
person
that's
that-
what I'm saying. Because obviously you're talking
Elvis
about music,
disrupted it.
but you're talking. No, Elvis disrupted it in a
did.
different way. That's so.
We were talking about bands.
No, but not only that, but then
We're
when
talking about a
Beatles-
lot of things.
Keith's talking about a lot. Keith's talking about something else now.
But when the Elvis, yes, Elvis is definitely an influence on music. I agree with you, but he is not fundamentally different than most of the other acts around him. And I'm not saying he's not popular and he's not
Really?
different.
What are the other acts around him?
Someone like Johnny Cash,
Okay.
yeah, he was
But-
friends with Johnny Cash. He was
So they
friends with
both
all
had,
these other people.
yeah,
They're
they both
both
had
very
crazy popularity, and they both
Right.
had incredible influence
Yes,
on the.
on musicians.
What
I'm not talking
Johnny
about-
Cash in Folsom?
Yeah.
That's dude. That was
No,
huge.
I understand that. I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is that the Beatles represent something like fundamentally different than all of that. Yes, there was Elvis Mania. Yes,
You
there
mean
were
just
people-
getting together as the boy band?
No. I'm not talking. I'm not even saying that they intentionally did it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that represents a unique moment in music history. That without them, the British invasion probably isn't as successful as it was, and it doesn't help change and shape.
Sure. I
So
think
that's
they're
what I'm
probably the
saying.
most popular within that group.
It's not because they're popular though. It's not merely because they're
It
popular.
is because they're popular.
No, because
Just
there's
to-
lots of really popular people that don't influence music.
Just to clarify too, I just Googled it.
Defend your source.
What?
Cite it.
It's Google.
And there's a lot of different pages you can
No, this
click
is.
on.
I'm just gonna tell you the release date of some bands.
Okay.
The Rolling Stones released their first album in '64. The Beatles released their first album in what?
Oh no, go.
The Beatles released their first album in '63.
So
So they were first.
Yeah.
so
So
first doesn't mean most influential.
No, I know that, but
But we're
But that's
talk-
what you gotta say.
No, we're talking
No,
about
we're
for
not
the sake
saying-
of for the
we're
sake of
saying
the
of-
argument earlier, where you were saying you don't know who came first and things like that.
between the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, is that
Yeah.
the
First album when they get together first.
Okay, but who's that means who's older, and I don't know their
No,
ages.
who got together first? I mean, you used this argument. You were like, they started at 87.
But I would say
their
that
first
that's,
album
I would
came
say
out
that
here.
that's not. So I'll give you an example from another. I can go from my field. That there was this again. I mentioned in the last one, so I don't mean to keep bringing it up. But there's this poet Walt Whitman in the 1830s or so. Like he's living in that time. Publishes his first major work in like 1850, somewhere around 1851. Anyway, he invented American free verse. There weren't people doing American free verse. There were free verse and poetry before him. And then there started to create this sort of world around him where people did free verse. So he was popular because he invented something new, right?
Okay.
So, and again, that there might have been people maybe before him, there might have been people that influenced him. I'm not saying that, but that is a disruption in poetry, right? So he was part of a group. We call it the American Renaissance. That in poetry, he is the most influential. So you're saying that there isn't you can't point to a single most influential person. I can point to him and saying American poetry is not what it is today without him. So I'm saying that there are examples that refute your idea that there isn't a single most
Without
influential.
him, or
Yeah,
that
without him.
was he the most influential, or is he
Yeah.
just, or is it
Well,
it only exists because of him?
Created something.
It exists in the way that it exists because of him. If it weren't for him, it wouldn't exist the way we have it today. American poetry, and then ultimately international poetry, because a lot
So
of
if the
people follow
Beatles, are saying they wouldn't exist without Elvis, they
Side-
did say that.
No.
Sidebar: the Stones started in '62. The Beatles started in '60. Go on.
No. So what I'm saying is that yes, Walt Whitman wouldn't exist without previous poets, but poetry as it is wouldn't exist without Walt Whitman.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, sure, the Beatles wouldn't exist without Elvis, but music wouldn't exist in the way it is without the Beatles.
Nor would it exist the way it is without Elvis.
Of course, but that's the same thing about saying all these Owens.
But hold on.
Walt Whitman is the most
Walt Whitman-
influential poet
Why?
in American history.
Why?
Because
Because
we don't.
he is?
Yes, because we don't have poetry. Poetry is not the same without him.
So hold on.
So
let me ask you a
music is
question.
not the same without
So
the
let
Beatles.
me ask you a question. If Walt Whitman created it,
Yes.
could there be a more influential poet than him, even though he created it.
There could be. Of course, there could have been.
So he just so happens to be the creator and the most influential on.
Well,
Yeah,
you can't deduce it from there.
It's weird with
Well,
poetry,
yeah, no,
though.
but you can say that it's not the same, and that's the idea of influence. When something is not the same because of someone, that's an influence. Is that not?
I'm not saying it's not an influence.
Right.
I'm not saying
So-
it automatically makes you the most influential.
But because if you look at poetry today, and again, this is what I keep going back to. You have to, if you study poetry before him and study poetry after him, he changed poetry.
So let me ask you this: the solo artist
Right.
existed before a lot of solo art? The first solo artist, whoever that is, I don't know who that is.
I don't know either.
Hey, so is he the most influential? Is she the most influential?
David, the psalmist.
Look at all biblical right now.
Well, it's too late. I already did.
No. But to your point, Walt
Right.
Whitman. That just. I'm just saying, like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
No, I don't at all.
okay, so so
You need to be clear.
So when it comes to who is the most influential solo artist, just whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who is it?
In history,
In the last 100 years,
I would say Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Right.
Okay. So why is it that Elvis, though, on charts is number one? Why is he
the number
most
one?
influential? He's known as the most influential on charts. When you look up charts, it's always Elvis.
Wait,
it's always the Beatles.
What do you mean by? Is it says like top
Musicians.
influential musicians?
Yes. It's. I looked at. I just went through.
Yeah, but you're right.
Well, so therefore, my point is just because Walt Whitman happens to be the creator, and I know you said he was influenced. You and I both agree on that.
Right,
We all
yeah,
agree
yeah,
that
yeah,
everyone's influenced by multiple things.
Right,
Right.
of course.
Even who the Beatles were here and who they were here,
Right,
a lot of
yeah.
other things
Yes,
influenced their
of course,
progression.
of
It wasn't
course.
just them.
Right.
And so, just because you create something doesn't mean you're the greatest ever. Michael Jordan.
But I'm not saying he's the greatest. I'm not saying he's the greatest poet.
But Michael Jordan's probably what you would argue is the most influential
Basketball player of all time.
He
Yeah.
didn't create it. So
I'm not saying, no, I know that. I'm
but
not.
your example about Walt Whitman
But
and
I'm
being the influencer.
But I'm saying that I wasn't talking about the creating of it. I was talking about how poetry changed because of him.
Because he created it, though.
Okay, true, right? But that doesn't. I'm not talking about that part of it. I'm saying that if you look at poetry before and after, he dramatically changed the way poetry is written. So what I'm saying is the Beatles dramatically changed the way that music was produced, written, and consumed and sold. I'm saying that that's what I would say by being influential.
And if we're talking good sources, the number one music magazine, we would. What would you say the number one is?
I don't
know what
read
is
a
it.
lot of music magazines.
Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones did a list.
Isn't Stone?
Well, I got mixed up. Man, I did a Nordstrom's.
Yeah, Mick Jagger
That's the
magazine.
band.
I told
You
Nordstrom's.
think Nordstrom's is still...
Yeah.
All right, hold on, guys. Hey, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back.
We're good.
We need to figure out.
Hey everyone, venture into the pop culture cosmos today, where you'll hear our conversations on different topics within the world of movies, TV, video games, comic books, technology, board gaming, and more. You'll also get a taste of some of our other shows within the cosmos as well. So come on and join us each week as we delve into the pop culture cosmos.
Welcome to the Pop Culture Cosmos.
And we are back in, and we are gonna land this plane. We're all gonna get a last
the British invasion.
Yeah, amen. So we are all gonna get a chance to say our piece briefly, and that will be it. So this is Kyle speaking here. I think that there have been a lot of good points made tonight, and I have a lot of things to think about. I think that there was a lot of yelling tonight, but it felt good. That was more like my favorite part. And I will say that I will agree with Rolling Stone magazine that the Beatles are the most influential band all time. That's it for me.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously a lot has been said tonight about the nature of influence, and I think there's two different sort of angles that we really need to consider here. Is that what Kyle and I have consistently said through the whole time.
It's up for debate.
No, but what we've tried to say, I will say, or at least what I've tried to say, is that influential might be different than influence. And the idea of, obviously there are people who influence music, lots more people than the Beatles have influenced music and the sounds and what we hear and all that. But I would say that the Beatles represented a fundamental shift, as I've said, a quantum leap from previous music, and that changed how music was produced, how it was written, how it was consumed, how it was sold. It changed the entire business culture, and not just the business culture, but the entire business and culture of music going forward.
And I would agree. I would absolutely agree with what Keith is saying. However, I think my whole point and kind of where I was coming from tonight is that I absolutely think the Beatles as an entity were a fundamental shift, is what you're saying, and that they with a movement were the cream of the crop. And they absolutely had a major role of changing music forever on so many different levels, and maybe even multiple genres. But I think that for me, where I come in is I think it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous to say that the Beatles themselves have single-handedly changed music, or are the most influential anything in music ever. Whereas I would say without Elvis, or even before Elvis, what was being shaped, what was being primed, what was being, like, if you will, set up for the Beatles to exist. And yes, they turned a huge corner, but them themselves, I cannot agree. I cannot say that they are single-handedly the most influential band or artist to ever exist.
Josh?
I've been going back and forth tonight. Like, first I agreed with Travis, then I agreed with Keith, then Kyle, and then Travis, and then Kyle, then
Keith and Kyle are on the same team tonight.
But they've made different points, which have been agreeable with me. So I think that the Beatles had a huge influence in the fact that they're not directly responsible for the existence of a lot of these bands, but they can have maybe like 10% influence, and then, you know, they take other stuff from other bands like Nirvana, take stuff from Melvins and the Meat Puppets and all that, but you know, there has to have been something there where it's like, okay, well, the Beatles did this, so maybe, you know, that they're onto something here. So I think that they're influential, but I wouldn't call them the most influential, because their bands take inspiration from all kinds of stuff. It's not, you can't say that one person's solely responsible for it.
I like what you have to say, Josh.
I miss Ryan. Well, all right.
All right. We'll pick this up next time.
That was a good one.
Right.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Let's do a little.
You're welcome. All right. See you later.
So what about the Foo Fighters?
Here's what I would say about the Foo Fighters.
We're gonna do a whole podcast on the Foo Fighters.
No. Here's what I would say about it.
Episode
I'm not
3.2.
gonna.
They sold out Wimbledon.
I'm not talking about. I'm not going to talk about influence. I'm not going to talk about. I'm going to say they are the best example of a middle of the road rock and roll.
You mean like Steely Dan?
Yeah.
Gosh, I hate the Foo Fighters.
Shout out to Clark.
No, but I mean, like, you take, like, just middle of the road, like, and have it and not even pay attention to it in the back, like, that kind of stuff. You don't turn your head. It's the best example of that type of rock and roll, like.
But with one of the biggest followings ever.
Right, and but I mean, so Nickelback sold a bunch of albums.
Yeah,
and
they.
Back to my original point.
Right, so
Surprised you didn't
I'm not
talk
saying
about
they're
that,
good
Josh.
music. I'm saying that they're of their type. They're the best example of that type. Does that make sense?
What type?
Middle of the road rock, which is bland, like white bread, that kind of like just not interesting, not good, not bad. Because they're not bad musicians.
To like the Foo Fighters.
I'm saying that they're the best band you can be indifferent
It's
to.
there's very niche people that like.
That's what I would
Foo
say.
Fighters.
Yeah, I know. And anytime I come across them, Even if we're friends, I have a real problem with it.
I would say
I feel like I always have a joke.
It's the same type of people that like Three Doors Down.
Yeah, it's like I don't. Here's what I would say. Here's what I would say about that. Like, I don't like the Foo Fighters, but I also don't dislike the Foo Fighters. You know what I mean? Like,
them,
they're just like they're
Nickelback.
fine. Like, yeah.
The Foo Fighters just aren't worth me thinking.
Yeah, exactly. They're the best. They're the best band that I don't care about.
I thought Dave Grohl died with Kurt Cobain.
Speaking of name dropping, I met Dave Grohl in a bathroom one time.
Did you say good to see him?
Actually, a little bit, I think. As I was walking out, he was walking in, and I said something that was like too friendly, but I didn't know him. He didn't know me.
He said, "We're in the bathroom, man.
Yeah.
Act accordingly."
Yeah, I said, I washed my hands, and I'm leaving now.
If you're tired of sifting through flea markets for rare and unique games, we can help. Retro City Games in Henderson, Nevada, only 5 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip, has all your favorite gaming staples, classics, and a wide selection of rare games with new stuff always appearing on our shelves. Come in and chat with Nicole or Doug about your love of games and watch as they help you complete your collection or find your childhood favorite. And don't forget, Retro City Games loves trade-ins. So if you have any Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega, Xbox, PlayStation, or even PC games, come in and visit Retro City Games today. Welcome to the new metropolis of gaming, Retro City Games.
This episode of What About This is sponsored by Always Green Synthetic Grass. Check them out at agsgrass.com for all your synthetic landscaping needs. Thanks for listening to this episode of What About This. Check us out and subscribe on Podbean and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at WAT_podcast. Shout out to Josh Peterson at Humannequin Media, and thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
To us people that can feel things, it hurts.